You're alive, and may everything function perfectly today and every day, now and forever. As we go forth to share the Torah, my husband will be the Parsha and HafTorah tonight. I hope you enjoy the class. God bless you all. Zai the bench. What's that? Okay. My sweatshirt. There we go. Let me move the camera here.
Hi, it's Rabbi Schaefer. Good evening, everyone. And thank you for joining us.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Here you go, husband.
Thank you very much. Okay. Today, thank you very much for joining us, Rabbi. So we very appreciate it very much. Today was Zion Adar, 7th day of the Adar. This is the month in which our people worldwide, we thank you for joining us. Our people were saved worldwide. And we soon, I hope to get to a little bit of the Megillah tonight. There's so much to talk about this evening. You can do a little bit of each thing. So I'm starting off with what today was. And even though it's the evening after Zion Adar, the various blessings and the various holy matters of a day continue into the night afterwards. I'll say it very quickly. You know, there's a Ma'ariv service, an evening service, and we usually think of the evening, Vahi Erev Vayivoker. We usually think of the evening as the beginning of the next day. But in the Beis Mikdash, it actually is completion. The evening after is the completion of the various offerings of the day. And therefore we daven Ma'ariv, because if certain offerings were not fully burnt during the day, or they didn't go on the altar, then they could be placed at night, all night. So this is a wonderful lesson for us, that the evening works two ways. On the one hand, it's Vahi Erev Vayivoker, when God created the world, and there was evening and there was morning, there was day. There also is an aspect of continuing the holiness and the blessings of the day into the evening afterwards. So we want to point out, especially since it's Purim season, that when Haman made his lottery to choose a day for the destruction of the Jewish people, he was delighted that it came out on the month of Adar, 13th of Adar, the very day before Purim, in which the terrible decree was made and reversed. The decree was reversed with the miraculous help of the Almighty and Queen Esther, as we well know, that Haman figured, Adar is a really unlucky month for the Jewish people, because that's the month in which Moshe Rabbeinu passed away. Of course, he didn't know it was also Moshe Rabbeinu's birthday. And therefore, he thought he was doing very well to have the month of Adar to be chosen for his evil plan. So it's very, very interesting how our enemies plan. I want you to know that our enemies, including these horrible terrorists, these horrible Islam, I call them Amalekite Arabs, because they're just as wicked as Amalek. By the way, this week is also Parsha Zohar, which we will read it in the second Torah. I'll mention soon, to remember the commandment to remember the attack of Amalek. We hope to be able to talk about that a little bit too. As I say, there's so much to speak about. We'll take what we can at any rate. Haman was a descendant of Amalek, this horrible Khomeini, who now has wicked people taking over his job, other wicked people taking over his job. So just like Haman Khomeini, these people, I won't even call them people, they're monsters, these monsters who do these horrible, horrible things and feel that that's their religion. They worship evil, they worship killing and destruction, etc., very evil people. At any rate, they all follow the Amalekite concept, which we'll speak about maybe right away now too. As I say, there's so much to speak about. I'm afraid I'm going to leave something out. In the second Torah scroll, we'll speak about the first Torah scroll, of course, very soon. This week is Parshas Tetzaveh, we are continuing the many portions that there are that describe not only the building of the Holy Temple in the wilderness, but the special priestly garments, special uniform. I'll call it a priestly uniform that the priests had to wear. The Kohen Gadol had a magnificent set of 8 garments, and a regular priest, a regular Kohen, had 4 garments. And in order to do their officiating in the Holy Temple, it was necessary for them to wear their uniform. You know how much trouble. What would happen if they have, they have the bugle to call the soldiers, and the soldiers have to get up quickly out of bed. And what if a lazy soldier waits for the last second, comes in his pajamas? You know what's going to happen to that soldier. So the soldiers of the Almighty, we all are soldiers of the Almighty. The Kohanim are leaders. And as I mentioned many times before, just because the services aren't going on now, and we're not dressing the Kohanim, our Kohanim that we have today, we don't have a Kohen Gadol now. We do have Kohanim, regular priests. We don't have a Kohen Gadol now. But that we really, really understand that everything in the Torah is eternal. And by you and I learning these wonderful things, they are fulfilled. We said that each of us, in our heart, we have a holy temple. We've been learning that on Sunday and also in the portion of the week. Parsha's Truma. This week is Tetzavet. We have a portion in which the priestly garments and the dedication services are discussed. Now, they say we will speak about Parsha Zachor a little bit more, I hope, soon too, but I want to spend a few minutes, make sure that I don't overlook the first Torah reading, which is Parsha Tetzavet. Parsha Tetzavet begins very amazingly because we know that after Moshe Rabbeinu was born, and that's in the first portion of Exodus, the first sefer, Parsha Shmos of Chumash Shmos, after he was born, he's always mentioned in every Sedra. So now I'm going to read to you the first verse of the Sedra, and I'm going to ask you if there's anything missing. Miyata and you, God is talking, and you, doesn't say who, and you, Tetzaves B'nei, you shall command the children of Israel. V'yikhu elecha, they should take you shemen zayasach, pure olive oil, kosis lamoa, which is beaten for light, lahalos near tamid, to bring up a regular, constant candle in the Holy Temple. The beautiful candelabra, this is a 7-lamp candelabra, and the Holy Temple was lit every evening, not just Hanukkah. Hanukkah, we celebrate that they were able to resume it again. But the candelabra in the Holy Temple had 7 candles, and they were lit every late afternoon and evening. And they are an eternal light, and that's why we learn about them to this very day as well. So is there anything missing in that verse? This is the beginning of the portion, and it starts off again, V'ata, and you, Tetzaves B'nei Israel, you should command the Jewish people, V'yichhu elecha shemen zayazor, now will take unto you pure olive oil, kosis lamoor, beaten for light, lahalos near tamid, to bring up a constant candle in the Holy Temple. What was constant, it was lit, and there was enough olive oil, which was placed in each lamp to last all night. Even the various longest nights of the winter, that the candelabra kept burning all night. A special miracle with the candelabra, that one of the lamps remained lit longer than the others to the next day until it was time to light yet again. And that was called the Ner Tamid. When you go into the synagogue, you will see usually a shul, a synagogue will have by the Holy Ark an electric lamp that's left on 24/7. It's never shut off. It's on. The only time it's off is when the bulb burns out and you have to replace it. That's representative that God's Spirit, Shekhinah, is always with us. That was the message of the holiday of Hanukkah too. And that light is always, always lit in the synagogue. And this candelabra, as you see, the wonderful, beautiful golden candelabra, as we learned about it last week, was lit in the evening in the Holy Temple. So here we find a verse that's missing something. It's missing something that's in every portion that occurs after Moshe Rabbeinu was born. After he was born. And his name appears in each portion. Sometimes many, many times. Usually a portion begins with the words Vaydaber Hashem El Moshe Lemor. And Hashem spoke to Moshe, saying to tell this message to the Jewish people. It might have to do with one of the commandments. It might have to do with instructions for the Jewish people in general, and to explain various laws of the Torah. Vaydaber Hashem El Moshe Lemor. And God spoke to Moses, saying, and then it continues with Dabir Bnei Israel, speak to the Jewish people, tell him, say to them such and such a message from the Almighty. This verse does not mention Moshe at all. Not only that, this entire portion, most strangely, does not have Moshe's name at all. This is very surprising and very strange. The reason for it is as follows. When we had made the terrible mistake of the golden calf, we're still paying it off, as we see with the troubles that we have today. That's the important message of Mashiach. Then our payment is all through. We pay on the installment plan. You buy a new car, you can't pay for it all at once. So every month you send them a check or whatever the arrangement is. The golden calf, we're also paying off. Every time we face a Torah, and boy, are we right now with this enormous threat against us, not only in Israel, but all over the world. There's a huge armada there. We're waiting on President Trump, and we're waiting and waiting and waiting. And more Iranians, innocent Iranians, are being killed by the horrible regime. And it seems to us very upsetting that he's waiting and waiting. And he has his different techniques. One of the things I respect him for is he's always trying to avoid bloodshed. He's trying to avoid a major, enormous war. If there's some way to get out of it, to do something with it. But when you're dealing with people like Haman, you're dealing with Haman. You can't fix that horrible wicked. He's completely devoted to evil and to destruction, etc., etc. So, at any rate, what's that got to do with our subject? The Almighty was so furious at us, and we don't appreciate what fury of the Almighty could be. The Almighty was so disgusted with us, he wanted to eliminate us completely and start a new Jewish people from Moshe Rabbeinu. He said, you, Moshe, you're from there, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you're from one of their great-grandchildren. I'll start a new Jewish people from you. As much as I have loved the Jewish people, they broke the whole Torah. When Moses broke the tablets in front of them, when he came down to give them the tablets with the Ten Commandments, he was showing the Jewish people, you smashed the tablets. You did it by doing this horrible, horrible mistake. So Hashem was furious and did not want to forgive us. And in the end, Moshe Rabbeinu said, if you don't forgive the people, then erase me. Erase my name from the entire Torah. If I cannot earn forgiveness for them and a second chance, then I don't want my name in the Torah, that I wasn't worthy. So when a great tzaddik, a great righteous person, makes a vow or makes a commitment, as Moshe did at that point, even though God did forgive the Jewish people, the vow that he made of being erased from the Torah, it still has a partial effect. It still has a partial effect. And that's why not only in the first verse of Tetzaveh, but in the entire portion of Tetzaveh, Moshe Rabbeinu's name is not mentioned. He's in it fully, of course. His holiness is in it, and he, of course, is the one who is directing the instructions and commandments in the portion, of course, but his name is not mentioned. So that's the reason for the very, very strange, unusual difference between this portion and all the other portions after Moses is born. Always have Moshe Rabbeinu's name there. Okay, so at any rate, the first commandment that's mentioned in the portion, as we see, has to do with the lighting of the menorah. And then the portion continues with the dedication of Aaron and his sons as the Kohanim, the priest for the Jewish people. I just go on a little bit over here just for a moment. The Ata and you, Hakrevi Lecha, bring close to you as Aaron Achicha, his Bonito, and his sons with him. He had 4 sons originally, Nodab, Avihu, Elazar, and Isamar. You should bring them all close, Mitoch Bnei Yisrael. After the holy temple in the wilderness is built, bring them close, and they are going to be selected from amongst the Jewish people, Chanoli, to serve me, Aaron, Nodab, Avihu, Elazar, Isamar, Bnei Aaron. We started off with 5 priests. Actually, we started off with thousands of priests. Thousands. What happened to them? What was the story? It's because originally, as you can see, it was very, very democratic. We're so concerned about politics today.
Mhm.
The original system was that the firstborn of each family of the Jewish people, whoever they are, wherever they are, and whatever tribe they were, no matter what tribe, it could be a Ruvain, you could be a Yisachar, you could be a Binyamin. It didn't matter which tribe you were from. Firstborn would be those who were selected to be the Kohen of the Jewish people. We all messed up, except for the tribe of Levi, from which, of course, Moses and Aaron and their children come from. We messed up very badly with the golden calf. So the Almighty took this special privilege to be the priest for the Jewish people and took it away. And it was given to the tribe of Levi because they did not participate in the golden calf. So isn't that interesting how we started off with thousands of Kohanim. Now we only have 5. We have Aaron and his 4 sons, and in a later portion, unfortunately, 2 of the sons perished. So he was left with only Aaron and Elazar and Isamar, as a matter of fact. So in this portion, we have not only are they selected and dedicated to be the priests of the Jewish people, we have the wonderful set of special garments that the Kohanim wear. The Kohen has 8 garments, and the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, has 8 garments, and a regular priest has 4. And they must report for duty at the holy temple, and be very, very careful because they're in a holy place. And that holy place originally was in the wilderness, that portable holy temple. It was a building that could be taken apart, as we had learned, put together, and parts carried on special wagons. And when they stopped, God led them with a pillar of cloud in the daytime and pillar of fire at night. When they stopped, then the portable holy temple, big job, huge job, had to be put together and erected. And then when they got the signal to move, and that could even be the next day. Sometimes they stayed for a day or 2 days, for a period of weeks or months, whatever. Even if it was the next day, can you imagine such a job? You have to pack up your family, pack up all the kids, and they had a lot of kids, thank God, and all your belongings, and be ready to go the very next day. And you never knew. You never knew when you arrived how long you would be there for. So it was not an easy existence. It was a holy existence, but not a terribly easy existence. Okay. We want to learn at least a little bit about the priestly garments. Lest you think, look, we don't have the holy temple now. Even though we have priests, we have Kohanim, we don't have a high priest, and our Kohanim cannot do the services in the holy temple. Here's a little trick question for you. Is there anything that our daily priests, our present priests, our Kohanim, is there anything that they can do that they did in the holy temple, starting from the portable holy temple in the wilderness and continuing with the first and second holy temple? Is there anything left that they can do? They can't offer the sacrifices. Okay, they cannot do that. They cannot officiate. Not even in the shul, for honor, we honor them, and as we've learned in our halacha class, we give the first aliyah, the first portion of a Torah reading to a Kohen. Yes, that's true. If you have a Kohen that's eating in your house, you're supposed to serve him first. Did you know that? You're supposed to serve the Kohen first. We're supposed to show them great respect. They lead the grace, unless they say it's okay to give it to somebody else.
Mhm.
These things are not unique to the Holy Temple, as we see. They're things we can still do today, and they're not the special sacrifices and offerings in the Holy Temple. Is there any service that our present day Kohanim can still do? And they retain their holiness. We look forward to the coming of Mashiach and the restoring of the temple and all the services, etc., which will come. As we see, it looks like any minute now, based on the incredible tension in the world right now and the tremendous threats that are being thrown across the ocean, backwards and forwards, forwards and backwards. And our people, they have to take everything out on us. If you attack, if you USA, you attack the Iran, we're going to take it out on you know who.
Mhm.
You know who will be attacked. That's the way they deal with it. So, is there anything that our Kohanim can still do today? The answer is yes, a very beautiful thing. In Israel, it's done actually every day. Outside of Israel, it's done on the holidays like Passover, Shavuos, and Sukkot. The priests go up by the Holy Ark and bless the people as they did in the Holy Temple. That's the one service that they can still do, is the Birkas Kohanim, the priestly blessing they can still do. In Israel, even on the weekdays, even though I was there, even on the weekdays, the priests are in the synagogue at the early morning minyan. People got to go to work. Early morning minyan, they have a Kohen, and instead of just reciting the priestly words, the priest gets up and blesses the congregation, So that's one thing that still remains with us. As we study these beautiful, beautiful laws and commandments of the Torah, you and I can be a high priest for the day. I mentioned this by Yom Kippur time as well, when you and I read in the Yom Kippur prayer book the whole service in the Holy Temple, which could only be officiated by the high priest. All year, all the priests were involved. High priests and the regular priests too were involved in the services and the offerings, and as I just mentioned, the priestly blessing. But on Yom Kippur, only the high priest. The high priest could not do his services without his uniform, without his special garments that were on. And we're going to learn, at least for a few minutes, about at least some of them, if we possibly can. So I'm just going to take a couple of minutes and share with you a little bit, at least a little bit, of what the portion is all about. If I put a picture up, will the people be able to see it?
If you put it closer, the camera is
Yeah.
the one that
Can you
picks
get
up.
the white off the white thing off of the
Yeah,
screen?
turn the
I'm
screen.
going to try to do
Can
something
you turn the
amazing
screen
here.
a little to me?
I know those who are on the conference call can't see this, so I'm going to try to
So this is
describe
what
it.
you listen to.
Did it work? We're trying to eliminate a constant
A pest.
pest. That would be a good way of putting it.
There you go.
There we go. Okay.
You
Wow.
have to turn it.
Okay, this is better than I thought I could do.
Let me put it
I'm
towards
actually doing.
Boy,
If I
the
can
closer you
get up,
get to the
but my
camera,
legs are a little bit old. Here we go. I'm coming to the. Oh boy, that is actually better than I thought I could do. Okay, you can see some of the priestly garments in this picture. First of all, you see that his hat is like a round hat, and there's a special gold plate that is suspended from that hat on his forehead that you can't really see too well. If you look down at his chest, you see something square that seems to have a bunch of square items upon it. That's the breastplate,
It is.
the choshen, that has a whole special jewels. Notice that he seems to be wearing something that looks like a robe. And that's what it is. That's called the ephod. And the choshen is the breastplate. And on the kosher, we have a jewel for each one of the tribes and their name on that jewel as well. And the jewels are described very beautifully in the Torah as well. And that robe is made. I want to tell you, I'm going to take a minute just to tell you, just to try to make this a little closer to us. Those are the 8 garments he's wearing them. You can't see all of them because the outer ones are covering the inner ones. Do you notice like a little bit of a slit towards the bottom? That the robe is open a little bit at the bottom. Okay, just to tell you a little bit about that, that's called the me'il. It's a special underrobe, and at the hem, the bottom hem of the me'il are a set of bells and pomegranates that alternate each other. Pomegranates, not the fruit pomegranate, but they're like balls. They're balls that are made out of wool, etc. So I just want to tell you something interesting about how the ephod was made, as a matter of fact. Just to tell you a little bit about it. How many of you have ever done spinning? Ever done spinning? It is a hobby, and I know actually one person who does do spinning, and there's an art to it, a spinning wheel, etc. too, in which you take short hairs or threads and you twist them and make it into a long thread so that you can use that for weaving. So the holy ephod, using that just for an example here, was made as follows. I'm just going to read to you. That's that long robe on the outside that hopefully you were able to see. I just want to show you something very interesting about that. Just give me one moment. Here we go. Yasuas ho'ephod. This is the commandment that the Jewish people are given. Moshe Rabbeinu gives them instructions that the high priest has to wear the 8 garments. And I'm focusing just on that long robe that you saw. And so there was like a slit in the middle. The also is ephod, and they shall make the ephod. I'm going to try to illustrate that in a minute too. Chelis, blue wool, Viargomen, and purple wool. Tulash, shoni, red wool. Vishesh, and linen. Moisture twisted. Masek, shave, the work of a marvelous engraver. A marvelous craftsman, not an engraver, a weaver. The work of a marvelous weaver. So, and it had shoulder straps, and the shoulder straps went up the back and held up the choshen. All right, so I just want to see if you notice the materials that are being used in each thread. This is an incredibly beautiful garment, and it's made with this variety of different colored wools, but it mentions gold. How do you get gold onto cloth? What do you do it? Do you sew on a plate? Do you sew on pieces of gold onto it? Here's how to do it. You can try it as a kitchen experiment if you like also. If you want to try a little kitchen experiment. That what they had to do, making a thread, using blue wool strands, threads of blue wool, purple wool, and the red wool, and also even linen. This is interesting. I don't have time to go into all these things right now, but at any rate, we're not allowed to wear wool and linen for our own purpose. Wool and linen are forbidden, but they actually represent a very holy level, which most of us are not able to attain. And the high priest and the other priests wore garments that had wool and linen together. When they're not on duty, when they were not serving in the Holy Temple, they're not allowed to wear them at all. So one of the ingredients of the thread, you have this multicolored, you have blue wool, red wool, purple wool, and we have also twisted linen. These threads, these fibers, is that the right way to say it? These fibers are twisted together into a thread and then woven on the loom. But one of the ingredients was gold. What in the world? How would that possibly take place? Okay. So you could do this as a kitchen experiment. They had to take gold and beat it into very, very thin plates. We would call it, it's almost like, I was thinking, how can I explain this? Like, we're all familiar with aluminum foil, aren't we? Aluminum foil is aluminum, but it's made and pressed in such a way that it's as thin as paper. What if you took for fun? I do this sometimes too, just getting ready for Pesach. I use the scissors with the aluminum foil to get ready for Pesach to cover up the counters and all the surfaces that have to be covered during the Passover holiday. What if you took a scissors and you started cutting the edge of the aluminum foil super, super thin? You could make a thread. You could make an aluminum thread, and that's how they produce gold thread to be twisted together with the other fibers of the thread, the different kinds of wool and linen, in order to make the string or this is the full thread, to be put on the loom and woven on the loom to make this magnificent garment. So it's a little bit of a kitchen experiment. I will tell you that one thing I had seen as a youngster, I haven't seen it for many years, was that sometimes people donate a siddur or a chumash to the synagogue, and they want to have their name on the cover. Maybe it's in memory of their parents, perhaps, or in honor of a bar mitzvah, in honor of a marriage. And on the cover, there would be impressed in gold the name of the people that are being honored or the name of the donor. Maybe you've seen this in the past. I don't see it too often anymore now. I don't know if expense has to do with it. But I actually saw it, and I learned how they do it. I find that this is very interesting. They took the owner of the bookstore, one of the people that work in the bookstore that know how to do this. They would take a thin piece of gold. It was thin as paper, just like the aluminum foil. And then there's a special press with the letters ready there. They would put this gold leaf. It used to be called gold leaf. That's, as a matter of fact, what it was called. And it would go, and they would press down, prepared before with the special letters, the letters that you want to be printed on the siddur. They would use the same thing, gold leaf. And that's how they made the gold threads to make the various, the gold strands. I should say the gold strands, which would be combined with the wool strands and the linen strands in order to make that very, very beautiful garment. I want to take a couple of minutes to show you the power of wearing the priestly garments. Now, when we study about it, I'm not even a Kohen, and some of you are not even men. Yet, when we study about them, God considers it as if we are making the garments and also wearing the garments. So here I'm going to try to tell you a little bit about them. Here we go. Okay, on 285. 1 second. I'd like to share this with you. It's good. This is very good because this is this picture again. I'm going to try to show you. There we go again. Hopefully I can do it. I'm not so good at this. I want to point with my finger to the Choshen. You see it? It's square, and it has square, as you see, square jewels upon it.
It's called
The
breastplate
name, breastplate in English, and the name of each tribe was upon it. And then it was worked out with the extra letters of Isaac and Yaakov. Each tribe, each stone was a special stone for that tribe and a special color, as a matter of fact. The many beautiful gems. So I'd like to actually to share with you a little bit of this. The first row of those stones, you saw that square ornament, which is on the Kohen's chest. That's why it's called a breastplate. The apron or robe that the Kohen wore had shoulder straps. They come down here, and they have these gold chains that hold up that square ornament. So I just want to share with you just a little bit about these. One have a stone red. Each stone has a different color. So it's referring to Reuven's wonderful repentance. He really was very ashamed when he interfered with his father's marital affairs, and he confessed his mistake and he asked for forgiveness. So the stone shows that he had this tremendous embarrassment, and that instead of denying it, that he did not do this, this was a very, very disrespectful thing to interfere with his father's marital affairs. We don't attempt to go into all the details now, but at any rate, he did a wonderful teshuvah for them. Now, listen to this. These things are not just ancient. When we learn about them, they function today too. Each stone, of course, had the name of one of the tribes, and when the Kohen Gadol, of course, would go into the Holy Temple, and especially the Holy of Holies on Yom Kippur, the Almighty would give special attention to the Jewish people all around the world because we're all from these tribes. But this special stone called Odom, in fact, the word Odom actually means red, this special stone had the power. Listen to how it affected daily life. It prevented a woman from losing her baby, which you call a miscarriage, God forbid, and it would help a woman become pregnant. So he interfered with his father's marital affairs, which is something that's involved in having children. He confessed, he did a wonderful teshuvah, and therefore his stone, although it shows how embarrassed he was by his terrible mistake, at the same time, look at the positive that comes from it. Because he interfered with marital affairs, God helps with marital affairs. That a woman who unfortunately was not able to hold a pregnancy, unfortunately, that she would recover from this and able to have healthy children. And also, a woman who couldn't get pregnant to begin with would be able to have a baby. This is true today as well. We don't have the high priest. We don't have the holy temple. But by learning about it and by praising the Almighty for his wonderful, beautiful commandments that he gives us, it's a living Torah. It is a living Torah, and these wonderful blessings take place today too. Now take another one. Okay. Barekas. Okay, this was a very sparkling jewel. This is interesting. You know, some precious stones, you and I, we're not that familiar with precious stones. We're familiar with diamonds and maybe sapphires and rubies, a few of them, you know. Here, there's a whole set of precious stones. So Barekas is the name, a funny sounding name, but actually the word Barak means to like lightning, to sparkle and bring about great amount of light. This Barekas was a multicolored sparkling jewel that glowed like fire. Now, listen to this. This stone, this type of stone, not the very particular one on the Kohen's breastplate, but this type of stone, the Barekas stone, has a long history. It was in Noah's Ark. What did he, goodness sake, the whole world is being destroyed. There's a terrible flood. He's stuck in the ark. He has his family and the animals, as you know, the various creatures that did not mix breed. They did not corrupt themselves. They're in the ark. What is this Barekas doing? A beautiful, wonderful jewel. What's it doing in there? So he used it. It generates light. It illuminates. It generates light. He used it for light in the ark. There was no electricity. They didn't have fluorescent lights in the ark. He used this beautiful Barekas stone, which generated light on its own. And that actually produced the light in Noah's Ark. That's really an interesting origin for the use of this stone. Now, which tribe had the stone of Barekas? The tribe of Levi. We had mentioned earlier that the tribe of Levi was the tribe that was selected to do the officiating in the Holy Temple. Amongst them, you have the Kohanim. They're from the tribe of Levi, Aaron and his sons. The only legitimate Kohanim for all time have to be They have to be descendants of Aaron and his sons. That goes to this day as well. And their function was to bring the light of the Torah and the officiating of the services at the Holy Temple. The Kohanim do the actual offerings and services, and the Leviim, they are guards, and they are also responsible for the musical accompaniment of the offerings in the Holy Temple. There was a beautiful choir, and there was an orchestra. You know, the Goyim have an organ in their place of worship. Did you know that? You probably know that. Where did they get that from? It was an instrument in the Holy Temple, the description of which makes it sound like it actually was an organ. Amongst many things, they took that from us as well. So the tribe of Levi has this wonderful stone called the Barega stone. Okay, I have to spend a few minutes on Parsha Zachor at least, and I'll try at least to say a word or two at least about Megillas Esther. A week from, what's today's Tuesday night? A week from last night, Monday night, next week is Purim. And I hope everyone will make a special effort, first of all, to be able to read the story of Esther, which is easily available on the computer. If you don't have it printed at home, it should be very easy to acquire. Just make sure, get the art scroll version of it, which should be online as well. And Haman, of course, was the evildoer in chief evildoer. He wasn't the only one. Excuse me. He had lots of help. Achashverosh, the king, not only of Persia, I'll speak about that shortly too. He was actually emperor over the entire world. In fact, the Megillah starts with that verse, and it was in the days of Achashverosh, who Amalek Mehodav Kush. He ruled a vast empire from India to Ethiopia. If you look on the globe, that's a vast empire. What's vast about that empire? India and Ethiopia aren't that far away. How is it that the Jewish people, if it's only India and Ethiopia, why couldn't they leave and go to another country? France, Spain, whatever. Why couldn't they go to another country to escape? And here's the answer. India and Ethiopia are close, but what the Torah is bringing out, you make a circle. Make a circle, start from India and go all around the world and end up in Ethiopia. From India to Ethiopia, a huge circle around the world. He not only ruled over those two countries, he had a vast empire with many kings under his control. Because the Megillah involves how God saved us from the attack of Amalek, therefore we read, it's one of the 613 commandments in the Torah, to read on Purim we read actually the attack of Amalek, and on Shabbos we read the commandment to never forget what Amalek did to the Jewish people. Will you ever forget what Hamas did to our people on October 7th? Will you ever forget that? That's going to help you understand what this commandment is all about. So we read Parsha Zachor, which is the last paragraph of Parsha Kisei, as the second Torah reading. After this first Torah reading about the appointment of the priests of the Jewish people and how to make the priestly garments, it also, the portion has the services of dedication of the very first the week before the Holy Temple was officially dedicated too. That was done as well. Why is it we have many enemies, including Hamas, including Iran, including Hezbollah, including Houthis, all these horrors around the world? I call them Arab Amalekites. Arab Amalekites, that's what I call them. We have a special mitzvah to remember the attack of Amalek, midor dor, from generation to generation. You can see we have many other enemies as well. right today. You don't miss any of them. You don't miss them whatsoever. So what is it? What is it about this mitzvah and this terrible attack? By the way, these Amalekites did the same thing. They disgraced the Jewish people. They disgraced them just like these horrible Arabs. It's the same things when I was hearing about in the news. This is exactly what Amalekites did as well. They would cut off the male organ and put it in the basket and throw it up to God out of defiance of God to make fun and mock the Almighty. And these horrors, these horrible Arab Amalekites did the same thing too, disgracing the bodies of the Jews. Not enough to kill a person, but to disgrace their body, and before they killed them, to sin with them, men and women, whatever. Very filthy, horrible, horrible, evil people. Taking babies and putting them into an oven and putting them into a microwave oven. The most incredible, incredible atrocities we could not imagine. Just like the attack of Amalek that we're talking about as well. So we have many enemies. Why is it that the Almighty says, Mochol Hashem b'Amalek midor dor, from every generation, the war against Amalek continues. It's not just because we have enemies in every generation, as we know. In the Torah, we read about the Egyptians, Persians, Greeks, etc., Romans, etc., in different books of the Torah. All through history, in every generation, there are horrible enemies that rise against us. Why do we have a special mitzvah never to forget the attack of Amalek, more than anybody else? In Israel, by the way, there were 7 Canaanite nations. We don't have a mitzvah, really, to remember their evil. We do learn about it and we avoid it, but this special mitzvah to show special hatred and remembrance of Amalek, that's something that's midor from every generation. Why were they different? Okay. So I'm going to show you why very quickly. Other horrible peoples, and there are other horrible peoples, and in Israel there were 7 horrible peoples. They married their mothers, they sacrificed their children to their false gods, they did every atrocity, unbelievable atrocity, etc., etc. But it was largely what you would call, they knew they're doing something horrible, but they didn't care. Okay, they did it anyway, but they realized they knew they was doing something horrible, and they're giving into the lowest aspects of being an animal person that they understood. And they did not necessarily defy and show special disrespect for the Almighty. They know about the Almighty. All these idol-worshipping nations know about the Almighty. And it's much more convenient to have some sort of a local god that they think and pretend is going to help you, etc., than a Dina Shabbat Shemayim God who's in heaven. So the other nations, they know the Almighty, and they give into their animalistic temptations. Today, too, horrible things today, too, as well, and horrible corruptions of the human body today, too. However, it's not an open defiance. Amalek and his descendants, they knew their master, and they purposely spited the Almighty and did their utmost to rebel against the Almighty. God took us out of Egypt with many miracles. Everybody was afraid to touch us. The Lubavitch Rebbe says if in Israel the Jewish people would keep the Torah properly, then the Arabs, they might hate us, but they wouldn't dare touch us whatsoever. That's if we would go back to our Holy Torah, which hopefully we all will very, very soon. The Amalekites know who God is, understand who God is, and that there is only one God, and purposely defy him, rebel against him, mock his people, and show that everybody's afraid to touch the Jewish people. When they came out of Egypt, we were riding high and doing very well. They had to show we can do it. We might get defeated, we might get hurt. Attacking the Jewish people, we don't care, as long as we can hurt them. And that's just like these horrible Arab Amalekites today. They say that if we get killed, killing a Jewish people, if that happens, we're a martyr. They think that they're a martyr. They're doing wonders for their false religion and their terribly evil religion. All right, I want to end off with a little bit, at least, from Megillah Esther. We need many classes to cover all these different things. Remember, if you can, go to the synagogue this Shabbos to hear the 2 Torah readings. The second reading is one of the 613 commandments. To hear and remember the terrible, that's the biblical October 7th, if that helps you remember. The biblical October 7th was the attack of Amalek in the Torah when we came out of Egypt. In the Megillah Esther, many, many wondrous things. First, I'll take a couple of quick things. The Megillah Esther begins with Achashverosh, who is the emperor. He's ruling all over the whole world. And he wasn't even of royal blood. In fact, we'll learn maybe next time if we have time. He was actually from a very low origin. And he found influence like today's politicians. They know how to get ahead. This person becomes a mayor. This person becomes a senator or a representative or congressman. This person becomes a governor. People who have no right and no place in these positions. And we had a terrible president, also a horrible president before President Trump. Well, in the beginning of the Megillah, there's 2 gigantic parties. One party was for all the kings around the world to participate. After that party, there's another party in which the Jewish people were invited to in the capital in Shushan. What do you need 2 parties for? It's an awful lot of Alka-Seltzer, right? An awful lot of medicine you're going to need from all that eating and all that indulgence, morality, incredible indulgence as well. As the decorations in the palace, by the way, you should know that purposely Achashverosh used wool and linen together to make tapestries. Normally that wouldn't be a problem, but he wanted the Jewish people who were invited to have the opportunity to choose between kosher food and treif food, kosher wine and not kosher wine. And he would tempt them to do the wrong thing. Now, let me tell you, what is it?
He also have what he included and stole from the temple at the party.
Yes, he took the various holy vessels, various different vessels that were used in the offerings. Thank you for bringing that up. And used them at the party as well, which was a great disgrace, of course. But then there's something else that's connected with this week's portion that I just showed you on the screen and talked to you. He took the garments of the high priest. Nebuchadnezzar is the one who destroyed the first temple and took all these treasures from the holy temple, including the clothes, the special garments of the high priest. And he brought them to Persia. It's Babylonia and Persia. And at the party, this horrible goy, this horrible Achashverosh, he put on the priestly garments in front of all the people, including the Jewish people. And it's a very special connection. But I wanted to bring out something positive just to end off with. In the description of the party, it mentions the most beautiful, all kinds of beautiful furniture, all kinds of wonderful, luxurious accommodations, etc., great beauty of all sorts, and very lavish feasting, etc., as we know. And the question is raised, which I'm going to end with, why do we need to know all the fancy details about the party? Yes, we do have to know. Unfortunately, the Jewish people were invited. Unfortunately, they participated. Yes. But do we have to know all these very, very beautiful accommodations, furniture, and decoration of the palace? Do we need to know that? Even the various stones that we used to use for the floor and to use for the various parts of each chamber room. So there's a beautiful answer to that I'd like to end with. When you're making a banquet, a Torah banquet, in which you're trying to invite people to participate in supporting a Jewish institution, which is involved, be it a synagogue, be it a school for children to teach them Torah, be it a rabbinical school, a rabbinical college, and you're making an affair. We learn from the Megillah Esther to make everything absolutely beautiful and as magnificent as we can in honor of the Torah. He did this to disgrace the Torah. We should make our banquets and special celebrations that we have for the different purposes, and largely today to rescue our people from supporting Hamas. My God, what we have to do today, unbelievable today. To make a beautiful affair in a lovely hotel, a lovely setting, kosher, of course, absolutely kosher, and with wonderful, wonderful foods and wonderful decorations in order to honor Hashem and to honor the Torah and not to be stingy, make things as inexpensive as possible. That's one of the things we learn from the Megillah Esther. Okay, thank you very much for joining, and thank you for sticking with us. We used a full hour today. I didn't expect to go that long, but thank you very much. And please join us again on Thursday night, which we hope to go over the laws of Purim, more of the laws of Purim again, and if we can, to also give some of the beautiful details about the Megillah Esther. There's a lot of humor even. There's a lot of humor even in the Megillah Esther. You'd be really amazed to find out too. Yeah.
May I speak to you for a few minutes after, if we're done?
Yeah. You could. You know what to do. Why don't you call me back so you won't be on. You won't be on.
Yeah, that's what I'll do.
Okay. Why don't you do that? Yeah. Okay. Very good. Everybody, thank you very much for joining us, and I'm gonna close the conference call now. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeshua Koach, Rabbi, thank you
To you.
for a good class. Hope you enjoyed the class, everyone. Please come back again. Today is Tuesday. We'll be back Thursday night at 8:30. And sei gesund, be gesund, sei gebencht. God bless you all. Shalom, shalom. Where's the white button is missing again? Crazy thing. Look at that. There's no way to make it bigger and get the white words. Unbelievable. Okay, I'm just gonna have to shut off the screen because the button I used to end the class disappeared. Okay, shalom, shalom, everybody.
If Judith, is that the lady's name? Oh, there she is now. Good. Okay.